The Lego's still not built. This hasn't changed one bit. In like, it's been ages since I even made the video saying I'd do that. I'm sick. I haven't had time to record. Again, third week in a row, except this week. Well, no, it was family, but it's also a bit my fault. I've been sick. If you listen to my video from yesterday, I've been pretty ill. The cold, a cold, it got me pretty bad. Being unprepared for a video, I'm going to tell a little story. I kind of like doing story times. I kind of prefer doing them in the back of my car, in the back of my bread van, where I used to do sit down Saturdays in my vehicle. So back when I was around 12, my brother was around 22. This story is actually about my brother. Title probably gives it away. Yeah, he wasn't into very good stuff. And in a backwards kind of way, it's weird to say that I took inspiration from my brother when I was younger. In fact, he was like a role model. He was a good friggin' brother, don't get me wrong. But the sort of stuff he was into, the sort of trouble he kept getting himself into, inspired me not to be like that. Okay? This isn't negative at all. I mean, the story's pretty freaking negative. Okay, I'm going to get straight into it. I literally don't know any dates. I remember we used to live in our old house with my mum and my dad when they were together. So I must have been 12 or 13. And we picked up the phone. My mum picked up the phone. And for the sake of privacy, I'm going to just call my brother James. You might find out his name. I'm not trying to hide it, but I just feel like I don't want to tell this story with his actual name. I'll probably slip up some point. But we're going to call him James. Anyone watching this video that knows me knows that my brother's name isn't James. So it is a fake name. However, we received a call, 2012, let's say, saying from my brother's roommate, saying James has been missing for a week. What do you mean he's been missing for a week? How? How? He's 22 at this point, so me being 22 now, actually, sometimes I can go like a week without contacting my parents, so that's perfectly normal. But then for them to receive a call saying, oh, hey, Kieran's missing, that would be weird. So my mum was kind of freaked out by that. And so he like filed a missing persons report. No one had seen him. No one had done nothing. And this was the issue with the dodgy side of my brother. Now, if I was to go missing tomorrow, and God, let's hope I don't, I could legitimately say, you know, Kieran was doing this, Kieran was doing that. What my brother was doing was not legitimate. He'd gone to London for a deal of some sorts, and it didn't go right, and he hadn't got enough money to come home, basically. Back when I was young, is this mic on? Yeah. Back when I was like 12 or whatever, London was super far away. Like, that was ridiculous. Like, he'd gone to freaking London and he couldn't get home. And we didn't find out this until a good 2 weeks after he'd gone missing. Legit. And, you know, my parents weren't rich, we weren't poor, but we couldn't afford just to drop everything and go to London. Okay, it was kind of stressful. My brother borrowed a randomer's phone and was put his SIM card in back in the days when every SIM card fit every phone, and called my mum. He said, look, yeah, I'm here right now, help me. He was staying in homeless shelters and stuff. He was legitimately homeless, like for a good 3 weeks maybe. And because he was homeless and he was going to shelters, and because he wasn't your typical, you know, I see a lot of homeless people now in London, and you can tell that after a day's work, they'll just go at night and they'll just get high all the time, they get drunk all the time. I mean, I'm not judging anyone here. If I was homeless, don't get me wrong, I'd be a wreck. But so we sort of knew that he wasn't just getting drunk every night, and that he was safe in some sort of shelter, and it was weird, but it's fine. So my mum sort of not saved up enough money, but got enough money together in the week to then go and see him at the weekend. Now, this was a massive deal because London was far. It's like this big city. It's really far. I think legit at this point, maybe at the age of 12, I'd never been to London. I'm pretty sure, right? I'd never been to London. But yeah, so London was this big magical place. And yeah, it was just really far and never went. So my mum going was a pretty big deal. So she went to meet him with the intention of bringing him home. She said like another £100. She was going to get him on a train and he was going to come home. But it didn't quite work like that, because by the time my mum managed to get to London and she was receiving regular calls from her brother saying, yeah, I'm doing all right, yeah, I'm doing all right. He'd found a Christian family that had sort of adopted him. And in the weirdest way possible, he was Christian now. And I'm not laughing at that, because religion isn't funny. In fact, It's really not funny. But yeah, he was legit just like, yeah, I'm a Christian now. These are my people. They called him by his Christian name, which was first name and second name. So say if it was James Byron Clark is my surname, you can have that one. James Byron, they used to call him. First name, second name, every time. And like my mum would talk and she'd say like, oh yeah, Jay, because his name can be shortened. And they'd say James Byron, and they'd like talk at her. And she was like, yeah, okay, well, give him the money. So if he wants to come home, he can. But, you know, if he's comfortable, whatever. And she described him as brainwashed, like legit. But I think he'd been in a homeless shelter. These people were offering him a room. And, I mean, he's probably just taking free handouts. Nothing wrong with that when you're in that position, maybe. So yeah, she left him the money, and they like took it. So it was now their money. It was like £100 or something like that. And yeah, they like took it. And then, now I don't know how legit this is, because don't forget, 12-year-old me is just a kid that no one wants around. I'm very annoying, and the second the phone rings, you know, when I hear my brother's gone missing, that's a pretty big deal. And my mum's gone to London to get him and doesn't come back with him. Then she's just like, yeah, he's with a Christian family. It's like, what? It wasn't a Christian family, actually. It was a lady and a man, both Christians. They can be a family. And then he also made part of their family in a way. So, yeah, and then basically that's where he's been ever since. Nah, I'm joking. So he called up my mum probably about 2 weeks after, and he was still staying with his family. They were very happy. But he did want to come home. Now my mum was just like, okay, well, I gave you the money. I can transfer you the money if you want. And he was just like, no, I think you're going to have to come and get me. So, you know, London's a pretty big deal. We'd already been there 2 weeks ago, or I'd never been, but my mum went 2 weeks ago. So, you know, she was like, okay, I'll get the next possible train I can. She's like, yeah, as soon as possible. And my mum like had to kidnap my brother back from these people, which is weird. And yeah, so then he's back, and he's back. He doesn't live with us. He still lives with the other guy, and we're just like, don't ever let that happen again. Don't be so stupid. And I think that was a turning point in his life to stop being an idiot and doing what he was doing. And that's, like I say, like as a kid, and still even so, he was a big inspiration for me not to do stupid stuff. You know, he did, I mean, and everyone was doing it, especially where I was from, you know, drugs and stuff like that. Everyone did it. All of my friends did it. And only because I'd seen how my brother had grown up, he'd been very lucky. And I've always thought he'd been very lucky with my parents being so, like, you know, not being strict. I've always had the thought that, like, if I did drugs, my parents would just kick me out. But a little bit of me knows they wouldn't, because they were just really good people, and they still are. And so, yeah, they always put up with him. My dad a little bit less, to be fair, but don't blame him. But I always thought, yeah, he's really lucky. He's constantly given a second chance. I never want to need that. And, you know, over time, he's now 32, and, man, he's doing great. Apart from the fact that on Monday evening, I received a call to say, your brother's gone missing. And to be fair, and this is where this gets a little bit serious, all right? Mate, if you don't get on with your brother, if you don't get on with any of your sisters, and you think your parents are assholes, just know that the second you get that call, and I hadn't spoken to my brother in like at least 3 weeks, right? I full on regretted. We went to Silverstone a couple of weeks ago. No, that was in July, and we spent one of the days completely just not talking to each other, just because we'd had enough. We'd wound each other up. My dad had a birthday meal not long ago, and it was good, but then like just snidey comments, as you do with family. And I just thought of all them times, and I was just like, wow, how lucky was I in that moment to sort of be able to make snidey comments, to, you know, be a bit of a douche. But yeah, it went on then for another like 48 hours. So it was Monday, I was told. Tuesday, I think he was still missing. Was it that late? Maybe it was, no, I think it was Tuesday I was told. He'd been missing since Monday. Wednesday was like, you know, maybe something's going to happen type day. And at this point, I'm just like, no one's heard from him at all. Like, no one had heard from him. And so I was just like, well, how do you look for someone that's gone missing? Where do you start? So the story was, he stumbled out of the pub. He was drunk. and he walked in one direction, which was the way to his house. But then when his housemate was just like, yeah, we live here and the pub's here, I'm just like, that's a long distance to walk. Anyway, regardless, I don't know how you walked it, mate. And they left the pub at different times and things like that. And then I was just like, well, why would you leave someone walk that long? And I'm a 22-year-old man, but I would not walk. I don't know. I don't live in a bad area. Even in the really good areas of my town, I wouldn't walk in the dark alone. I just wouldn't. But yeah, so that seemed a bit mucked up to me. And then come Thursday morning, I'm just like, right, I'm done now. I'm going to speak to my boss. I'm going to work from home on Friday, and I'm going to go look for him. I don't know where, I don't know how, but today is the day I start digging, Thursday, right, 2 days ago. And I instantly start looking into things, and it turns out, you know, he didn't just leave the pub and disappear. The next morning, he called in sick for work. That I managed to find a colleague of his, and he called in sick, and I was just like, oh my God, so at least he's not dead, because, like, that goes through your mind. And my whole family, there's a lot of us, so we're all just like, okay, good, right, yeah, that's progress. And as the day sort of goes on, I'm digging, he's shared on Facebook, like, I want to say, like, nearly 400 times, maybe. One post had, like, 100 odd shares, another post had 100 shares, and there was just so many shares within a couple of days. There was no way he was getting away with this. And then, come Thursday, he turned up at work. Turned out he left the pub. He went to a friend's house. His phone died. The next morning, he called his work office. Or maybe his phone didn't die straight away. But he called his work, said he was sick because he probably had a stonking hangover. Took that day off. And then, like, the next day was when he turned up at work. And we was just like, what? It was the most stupid thing. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, then we was just like, wow. And I was literally just like, whoa, that completely changed my perception on you. I figured when he come back, I'd be like, oh, you're such a dick. What's wrong with you? But really, I was just like, mate, if you ever need time alone, just let everyone know that you're going. Don't worry about what we say. Just let us know you're going. Because if he said to me, oh, I need time alone, he said to anyone, oh, I need time alone, and then disappeared for a day or two, we'd be like, well, yeah, because he said he was going to go away. Even though we told him not to. He said he was just going to go away for a couple of days. But yeah, little, like, reminder of life. I keep having these. August, again, haven't really spoken about it at all, actually, and I'm not going to now. But August was, like, legit the worst month of my life. And it's really this year, 2017, it's been a massive kick up the arse for me to just hurry up and do what I want to do, which is why recently I've just been, like, I don't know, I've made a lot of, not big decisions, but with, like, side projects and stuff like that I want to sort of make an effort with. I'm just like, let's just do it. Let's stop stumbling and waiting up. I'm just going to do it. So yeah, I'm at the moment I'm more of a yes man, which is good. But when it comes to making YouTube videos, it's slowing down because the accessibility and being able to sit in front of my computer and do stuff I'm getting less time, to be honest. I'm enjoying playing games and stuff, but like this, I want to make these Saturday videos something. I want to make them super special, as I said in my last video, and they will be. Honestly, these are the most effort put. There's the most effort put in these videos. Does that make sense? But yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it. Thanks for watching. Bit all over the place, as always. But yeah, hopefully next week we'll be reacting to something on the screen. Maybe something funny. My computer screen will be in it, though, for God's sake. If you like the video, hit thumbs up. If you like videos, go and hit subscribe, and I'll see you in a bit.